Welcome. This is Elsie Kearns, and tonight we have a very special guest live from Las Vegas, and that is Shari Ramirez. She is an Eden energy medicine practitioner. She's an advanced practitioner, and what I'm really looking forward to is having Shari share her story tonight of how she went from healing herself with rheumatoid arthritis and hypothyroidism also to becoming an advanced Eden energy practitioner. So, Shari, welcome to the show tonight.
Oh, thanks, Elsie. And thanks everybody for joining. This is really actually a kind of a special treat. I've not ever been able to share this story with so many people. So I really hope that, you guys get whatever it is that you need to help with your journey or just learn some more information. Because really, I swear, it's like I did it all trying to figure out what I had to do to heal myself. So thank you, Elsie. Thank you, everybody.
So, Shari, what I'd like to do is, would you begin by really from the very beginning, tell us how you were struggling with rheumatoid arthritis, the pain. Give us a picture to begin with of what that was really like, and then take it from there.
Okay. Well, initially, I started having challenges what I remember actually back in 8th grade. And it started with my wrists. A lot of pain just started happening, and being taken to doctors, they just kept saying that, oh no, it's growing pains, it's growing pains. By like 9th grade, I had quit growing. I'm short. I'm only 5 feet tall. And I'm like, okay, I don't know about this. But, they were the doctors. They were the people who knew what was going on. Eventually, it just got worse from all the way through high school up into college. College is when it became real serious. There was obviously something wrong. And kind of funny thing, because we're talking about RA and hypothyroidism, the first test that the doctors actually did on me was to test my thyroid. And it was completely normal at that point. So from there, they said, oh, you know what, we need to check to see if it's rheumatoid arthritis. I don't know how they really all completely figured that out. And sure enough, that's what it was. I can tell you by that point, my chosen field was technical theater. So I'm a hands-on person. I build stuff, I create stuff, I use my hands, I use all these power tools, all this kind of stuff. So, the point of when I got the diagnosis really is when it hit me the severity of actually what was going on. Through high school, you just, you're a kid. You're like, yeah, okay, things hurt, whatever. Just you just move on from it. But in college is when I really started to notice that it did affect my life. Like I said, it did start with my wrists. It eventually spread to every major joint in my body. And within a very short period of time, I started to see my mobility, my range of motion just being taken away, because my joints would be so swollen. They'd be so hot and red and irritated. And, like, I've had other people ask me, what does rheumatoid arthritis feel like? And the best analogy I could give is on a bad day, which there's a lot of bad days, and I didn't understand knowing what my triggers were at that time. Over time, I figured it out. But I said it's like when you are having a severe case of the flu, your entire body aches and hurts, even your skin, just touching it. And the joint's 10 times worse. And it's like every single joint, every time you move it, is breaking. That's the best analogy I could give. And I think, still some people, it just, when they don't have that kind of pain on a daily basis, it doesn't register, what it does to a person's life. I mean, through college, those are supposed to be your party years, your fun years, figure out who you are. I was too busy trying to manage the pain. Quite honestly, it was, taking the medications that the doctors had prescribed for me, had given me. And I started to have more side effects and more side effects, and just felt worse and worse. And every time I started, you know, or wanted to do something new, I always had to think, can I do this? Is this going to hurt my body? Am I even able to hold something? Can I turn it? There was always the thought of, can I do this? And that's a crappy way to live. I mean, we shouldn't have to be thinking of that. And this was going on in my early 20s. You know, it created a cycle of very little sleep because I was in so much pain, despite the medication that was supposed to help the pain. Makes you tired, took a lot of naps, but puts you in a cycle of depression. And it becomes this crazy cycle. It's like a lot of pain, no sleep, depression. You get a little bit of sleep because you're finally so exhausted, and then it starts again. And it's this crazy cycle. And it's like, how do you get out of it? What do you do? So when I look to the side, everybody, I'm just referring to my notes because it's been a while, and there's a lot of things. You know, managing the RA actually became all-consuming. My life consisted of managing the pain so I could get through my work day, because the one thing I absolutely did not want to have was for people to think I used RA as an excuse. And I think that's a fear that a lot of individuals have when there's some kind of condition that can restrict your mobility, restrict you from being able to do something that, you know, the normal person whose body works fine can do. So I was super diligent on that. But then in being so diligent on that, and I guess in cases actually hiding the disease somewhat, oh no, I'm fine, you know, I can do this, you know, pop a few more pain pills and go on. I worked, I went to school, and then I crashed when I got home. And that's what my life was, you know, and it's trying to manage a status quo, but the status quo just keeps going away. I mean, it gets worse and worse, and it messes with your psyche. You know, at times now, as I had gotten into relationships, I felt guilty. As crazy as that maybe sounds, when you're a young person and you're thinking about what your life may be, and at that point, when I started to get into a really serious relationship, actually with my husband now, I was in my late 20s, because I'm 36 now. And I felt terribly guilty that he wanted to marry me, which was awesome. I love the guy. But I had this disease and this condition, and I remember having this conversation with him. Excuse me. I forget how it actually sometimes gets me. But I said, I think by the time I'm in 30, I will be in a wheelchair, because the pain was that much. Oftentimes he had to help me get dressed, brush my hair, put my bra on. I mean, it starts to take your dignity away too. And I had been looking for different solutions actually for a while, because despite what the doctors said, I have a stubborn streak in me just like a mile long. I'm like, you're telling me I'm going to have to live with this crap for the rest of my life? Okay, I got to figure this out, you know. So I did. I started looking and trying different things, but, you know, along the way, what had happened with the medications that I took was I actually firmly believe that that was part of the reason I developed hypothyroidism. It came about a year and a half after my diagnosis, and when I started taking heavy medication, and I gained weight. I mean, I'm only 5 feet tall, and I went up to 160 pounds. That's quite a bit for a small frame, which then causes even more issues with your joints and your, you know, inflammation and everything. But oh man, acid reflux. I had to have bone density scans. I was already in early stages of osteoporosis, so this is all before age 30. My feet started going numb. My toes started going numb. I suddenly started getting sick all the time. Flus, cold. It didn't matter. It was like, oh, they have it. Sherry's getting it. You know, and that was not something that I had before. I would get rashes on my body. I didn't know at the time it was from my body trying to detox and having reactions to medications. Cystic acne. Oh man. Okay, so if anybody has seen, the young kids, I feel so terrible, so bad for them, but they have these huge red cysts all along like the neck and the face, and it'll sometimes go down on their chest, back. I ended up with that. Had no clue what the heck was going on. Gained weight. I said that one. Oh, something I think the American public deals with a lot is constipation. I had never had that until I started taking medication, and boy, that one took a very long time to heal. And I eventually ended up in what my homeopathic doctor considered the last stage of adrenal fatigue before you hit adrenal exhaustion. So it just snowballs. It really, really did. Yeah, it was just crazy. I'm so grateful I met my husband. He was actually a huge part of my turning point.
So Shari, tell me, I mean, this sounds overwhelming when I hear you describe it, and certainly emotional.
Yeah.
How was it that you found Donna's work? Did you see her? Or what was your experience if you did see her? Or how did you commit to this? Yeah.
So it actually, there is a, it has a little bit of a history. So I was already starting to try to find other different natural things. I tried different herbs. Didn't really work at the time. I did not understand that my body was so toxic with medication. Did shiatsu massage, which, by the way, helped me immensely. Did acupuncture. That actually helped me quite a bit. I went to Mayo Clinic up in Rochester, Minnesota for a long time. They have wonderful doctors. I wasn't very successful with that, unfortunately. My wrists had gotten so bad, my doctor actually wanted to have the bones fused, so I couldn't even move them anymore. Tried homeopathic. I did have some success. Nuka chiropractic, and I say that one because that was exceptionally helpful in adjusting my body. But what I started to see was I knew that different alternative things were working for me. It hadn't given me the healing that I was looking for, and I was trying to remember when I was thinking back on this. My husband started to talk to me about energy the same time that my massage therapist started to talk to me about energy. And they both said the same thing. I even think it was in the same week because I remember going, my God, are they talking to each other? What is going on? They both said, if you want to heal, you need to use your energy. You need to figure out how to work with it. I was very fortunate to have a wonderful massage therapist who was actually trained over in Japan. He's Japanese by origin. And the massage, the shiatsu massage, if anybody doesn't really know or understands that, they follow the meridian lines. So for over a year, he had already been working my meridian lines to start to help get them cleaned up and cleared up. And then my husband, through heritage or a gift or whatever, it's in his family. He never lost the ability to see and do and feel and help people with energy. That's who he is. That's part of his line. And he had helped me at times take away some pain. So I knew that there was something to it, but I had not a clue at all. And my husband said, well, get your chakras in order. And I'm like, chakras, what are those? I had no idea. So I went to the trusted internet and I just put in chakras. And I'm like, okay, I went through some different sites. Some of them seem legit. Some of them were like, ah. And then I ran across a lady by the name of Carol Tuttle, which I imagine quite a few of you out there watching do know. She is huge, huge with chakras. And she seems so absolutely just, I mean, this was her life. She knew this. She believed it. She did it. It just, and I was like, wow, okay, this lady knows what she's talking about. So I started watching some of her, I don't know if it was an online course or something, I kind of forget. And she said, oh, don't worry about all these exercises I'm showing you. They're in this book by Donna Eden. And I'm like, well, what's that all about? So instead of trying to remember every single thing that she was sharing, I picked up the book and I started reading it. and I just started doing the exercises. And that's how I was first introduced to Donna.
What a synchronicity between your husband
Yeah.
and Carol and the online course and then Donna's book. And have you, before you went to the school, did you actually see her do an in-person live event?
No, I had never seen anything from her. Actually, it was about, I kid you not. So the way my life circumstances happened to me, I used to be in commercial construction. And the way the industry had gone out here in Las Vegas was it flattened out, it died. And I had been laid off, which was fine with me because I, at that point, decided I was going to heal. So I took my time to heal. But at the same time, I was like, what is going to be the next me? What am I going to be doing next? And I knew I really wanted to do something to help people heal because I was experiencing really great results with some other different alternative stuff. But I didn't want to spend another, I didn't want to get a doctorate for Chinese medicine or anything like that. And I started, I was reading her book. And at some point in the book, she talks about her certification class. So I was like, honey, I think I got to do this. And I think I waited maybe a week or two, and then I got online to look because I thought that classes would start in August. No, I got into Laurel Camden's class, and hers was the second to last class to start that year. So it was only about a month of reading the book that I got into the class, and I started like hardcore. This is me. I just knew that this is what I wanted to do. So that's how I got into the class. That's how I started because of my life. Things had changed, and I was ready for it too.
Well, Laurel Camden, I've been with her at different conferences, and she is a wonderful teacher, fabulous. And of course, she had her own life story, so she can really relate to situations like you were explaining, where you were wanting so much to heal yourself with energy.
Yeah, and at the time I did not know it, but she had healed herself from RA also. So she was the absolute perfect teacher for me. I believe everything lined up exactly the way it needed to, so I could be there. I needed to be in St. Louis, Missouri. But yeah, that is how I found out about Donna. I hadn't seen her. Donna was a book to me at the first time. I never had the opportunity to go to a 5-day class. I don't know if they even had them at that point. There was some real close to the time I started, they were phasing them out.
Yes.
And I did the 5-day DVD set is what I ended up having to do. And learned a lot. I learned a whole lot from that I took and I ran with. And so, yeah, I've always had my husband, he always supported me through this because he knew what I was doing was what was going to work. It's always worked for him. And next to marrying my husband and finding my spiritual teacher, finding Donna has it's like number 3 on my list of, oh my gosh, events in my life, because it healed me. Her work took it to the level that I needed to go to heal. And it was awesome. I love it. I still love it.
So, Shari, I know that when you learned all this, and I want to point this out for people that may not be in the program or may be new to this, but tell us that daily routine. And, Donna calls it the 5-minute routine, but we know that once we get into this work, we certainly add more to it. Yeah. So tell us what you were doing every day and how much of that in order to bring about this healing.
Okay, so first of all, I don't want anybody's triple warmers to go off. It's a lot. It's a lot that I did. I also don't think you need to do this much in order to heal. But for me, it was a 2-part thing. I was healing and I was also training myself. And I made the decision. I think something that is really important for us to remember is that we don't often make a decision and make it a priority to heal ourselves. So I did that. So it was a commitment for me. And anybody who's made that decision, I really encourage you to make it a commitment for yourself too. And if all you can do is spend 15, 20, or 30 minutes book it in your schedule and just be so diligent about that, you know, and it is absolutely going to help. So with that being said, no one freak out. If there's something that I mentioned and you're like, oh, I didn't catch that, you know what, you can email me. It's awesome. I share. I don't mind. People email me all the time, and I give them, you know, the information so they can do what they need. But so my daily routine just started as the book. What came in the book, you know, it's the cross crawl, the hook up, the Celtic weave. I put in connecting heaven and earth, the wing hook, crown pull, 3 thumbs, which is now 4 thumbs, because we added our stomach underneath our eyes. What else? Connect heaven and earth. Yeah, connecting heaven and earth. Oh, heaven rushing in. Good. So it started just as that. And when I went to class and I started to learn, you know, how to test other people, I was just so adamant about healing myself. I'm like, well, I need to know where I am. So in watching Donna's 5-day DVD, something that really struck me, and I took it and I ran with it, was learning how to self-test using the body pendulum. So for people who aren't aware of what that is, it's a way that you can find out, you know, some information with your own energy. And the basis is if something, and she did it with a substance. So like I have some chapstick right here, you know, she would hold that and you hold it to yourself. And if your body wants to fall forward, what it's doing is it's drawing your energy to it because it's beneficial for you. And if your body falls away and back, it's something that isn't resonating with your energy, so it pushes you away. And I was like, okay. So I started testing everything I could, substance-wise, like foods and, you know, shampoos, conditioners, just everything, just so I could get practice with it. And then after taking my first class and learning how to test other people for just the daily routine, I was like, well, if I can do that for them and then use the general indicator test, and I'm learning this body pendulum, can I do that on myself? So that's what I would start to do is, you know, I would, for the homolateral, I would draw, or I'd actually look at, you know, a sheet of paper that had 2 lines, and I would test myself. And then I would look at the cross, you know, and I would test myself. So that's how I initially started. And I continue that up even to this day. And I would do that with everything that we learned, that I could figure out how to test myself. And in testing, then I would make the corrections. So my routine, you know, it started out as maybe the 5, 10, 15 minute. It got a little longer. Pretty soon it was 30 minutes. And it got a little longer. Pretty soon it was, you know, 45 minutes. And probably towards the end, it was about 2 hours, but there were other additional things that I did put in there. You know, Melanie Smith, I think you interviewed her, didn't you?
Yes.
She taught harmonizing the fire, which is an amazing protocol. I didn't think I had, okay, so that does work with hormones. I wasn't even considering it for my thyroid at all. I was just like, this is really great. It balances so much stuff. So I would fall asleep doing that to myself. And if I didn't get through the whole thing, oh well. But I was like, I'm going to balance myself as much as I can. Through the 10 years or so that I was looking for, you know, my healing, I learned what some of my triggers were that actually, you know, brought on flare-ups. And for me, it was very emotional. So when I learned that all these neurovascular points on your head, you know, get to emotions, I created my own black pearl on myself. I mean, it doesn't really follow. I didn't know what else to call it, but I would listen to some chakra clearing music, and it was about an hour long of music. So I would start putting my hand up on my main neurovasculars, and I'd put them all on the back of my head until I felt a connection. Then I moved it further and further, and I would do the sides, and I would do everything I could to try to get all of those and to get them into balance. And that was actually what I did first thing in the morning. And then I would do my routine. I would do my routine, and then I would test myself. And in testing myself, figure out what needed to be fixed. I would balance according to however I had learned at that point, and then test myself again. Some things did not always balance right away, you know, and it was just, I had to work on it day after day after day. But then things did start to balance. And I would do that for every single thing that we learned all the way up through our 8 classes. Because for me, healing rheumatoid arthritis was, you know, that was the main thing. But I intuitively understood that just because the rheumatoid arthritis was gone and healed, and it was actually healed within the first year of my training, that I was still very out of balance. My body was still very out of balance, and there was no way that I wanted to go back there. So I had said to myself, and I actually remember saying this to myself, the very first class was, I am going to heal, and I'm going to heal all the way through, no matter what that means. And I know I don't know what that all means, but I need to be open to it. And I figured, well, if I can test and something's out of balance, let's put it back in. And that's what I continued to do. Interesting enough, I never went to sedating my triple warmer. I figured my triple warmer had done what he had done to keep me safe. So I did everything I could to harmonize him and befriend him and get him calmed down in that manner, instead of just trying to strangle him and say, oh, you got to calm down. I don't think I ever sedated my triple warmer on myself until about 3 years into the program, because that wasn't the right thing for me.
Well, let me just comment, Shari, when you were talking about that neurovascular routine that you did first thing in the morning, that would absolutely calm down that triple warmer and help it relax. As you know, rather than forcing it through sedating, it would just totally relax it.
I never even thought of that. And yeah, because I will go to those points when I work with clients. Never even thought of that. But yeah, you're right. It was a very nice way. And, you know, something also that really, one of the techniques that really also helped me hugely is called ancient echoes. And it is an advanced technique that Donna has. She has it in a DVD set. It's Energy, Intuition, and Eden's Way DVD set, which was so huge for me when I learned that, okay, fine, you can heal the disease, but there's still memories in there. So, like I said, the RA was healed within the first year of my training, but I would still be like, every night, I'm like, what is this? I feel like I'm going through it again. And then someone said, oh, well, it's, you know, memories of it. They do have to come up and they have to come out. So once I understood that, that was huge, because I'm like, healing crisis, come on, you know, let's get rid of this. And ancient echoes was really big for me. I've had it done a couple times by a couple actual EEM practitioners, and then I employed my husband, and I'm like, okay, baby, here's what you have to do on me. Let's do this. And he would do it, and he would help me. So I did that a lot, and it was really important. And I think it is important for people to know, we do go through healing crises, and we can bring up a memory of it. And I remember there was one of the memories in the healing crises that I did go through, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going through a terrible episode again. It lasted only a week, and then, wow, I felt so wonderful. But by that point, I had had the education to know that it was something that was really just coming up through my energies and out of me. And I was like, okay, great. You know, it's another deeper layer, and I'm going to get all of this crap out of me. You know, it's going to be gone. But I don't ever remember that being taught to me or said very specifically until just one particular thing. So I think it's important for, you know, us as practitioners that, you know, to share that also with our clients, and for any of the clients or anybody who's just listening, you know, that can happen, that we can be healed, but it may feel like we're going through a whole flare up or something again. And really what it is, it's that energy that, you know, was deeper in our system that it's ready to come up and release. And sometimes we feel it physically. So, yeah.
So Shari, one of the things I just want to say to our audience is that when you were speaking about those neurovasculars, when you're lying down, like you were talking about doing that first thing in the morning, and when you're lying down, your arms are supported by the pillows. So it's much easier to hold these lying down. And if you have something come up or something that you're trying to release, holding the front and back hold with those neurovasculars is a wonderful way to move through it easily and calmly, and letting it go. So letting it come up, not trying to push it away, but knowing that you have the support of the neurovasculars to help you release all those memories. And also, I also want to comment, Shari was showing us something that she would use to that sway test, and we couldn't see it because the camera doesn't go down that far, but you would put something like that on your solar plexus. And I've even sometimes written something on a 3x5 card and held it if I didn't have the substance itself. But, any kind of medication, anything, like if I say to my body, how about this organic apple? It's going to start going forward immediately. And if I start to say, how about Ben and Jerry? I don't even get Jerry out, and I'm almost back on the screen. So, and you pointed out also that you spent a lot of time practicing, because you really have to begin to trust yourself with this, and to be able to realize that you really can have your body talk to you, and you can talk to your body.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I didn't even think you mentioned the pillows with holding my neurovasculars. I had pillows everywhere. It was something that I made sure to do, because for me, if I held, my arms in a position like this too long, I would still get some real extreme stiffness in there, because I did not have a good flow of energy going through at all. I was always propped up with pillows, so I could be in as relaxed as a state as I could get myself for, releasing to happen. And yeah, I did. I tested anything and everything so I could get good at it. And it is a trust thing. When I wasn't certain, I would strengthen my spleen, tracing it, or if I needed to, do a strengthening points, and then I go over to my husband, I'd be like, here, check my spleen and see how it is. Okay, and then I would hold the substance, like you said, on my solar plexus, and I would have them do it that way, just to help me build up my own confidence, and learn, okay, yeah, my body is giving me the right information, or maybe something is off. So when I actually teach that to a lot of my clients, because a lot of my clients do choose to use herbs or essential oils or vitamins or whatever, I give them a couple little things. I say, okay, I'm going to show you how to test your polarity to make sure that is good. I'm going to show you how to, test make sure you're not in homolateral, and to make sure you're grounded. And I said, usually those three things, if you are good with those three things, your test is going to be very accurate with if your energy likes it or if your energy doesn't like it. And that's the wonderful thing about Eden Energy Medicine, is it's so teachable. What Donna and David have done in creating Inner Source in these classes, and having all of this for practitioners to learn, is that they teach us in a way that we can go out and we can teach other people. I mean, I've taught so many other people. They've not come to any particular class. It's just in, in my session room. Oh, this is something that you need, that's going to really benefit you. And it is so easy. I can't tell you how many times I'll have old clients. Hey, Shari, I was testing this and, doing everything that you said. And darn it, I just can't seem to figure out what's going on. Can I come in for a tune-up? But what I love is that they are using it on a daily basis, and they are keeping themselves so much better balanced by having those tools, and we're able to, give it to them. And I do love it. It's just take it and run with it, heal yourself, darn it, so you can get busy living instead of trying to just deal with your day.
So Shari, you mentioned that actually healing hypothyroidism was kind of a bonus. It was a side benefit. So tell us a little bit more about that, because I know you added some other things, and you talked about sedating stomach and stretching the throat. And so I'm curious as to what made you target sedating stomach and so on.
Okay, so it was I chose, because of life circumstances, to start to focus in on getting my thyroid healed. Like I said, I was in the construction industry and I had been laid off. My husband actually had been at the time too, and he later on in my training, he had been laid off. Well, prior to that, I had sort of thought about, well, maybe I should heal my thyroid. I'll maybe try some natural stuff. And I had chosen to use Young Living essential oils. So I had gotten some of the oils. I had already tested myself with them. And I did the exact same thing that you were talking about, Elsie, where I didn't have the oil in front of me. So I wrote it on a piece of paper and then tested myself. And actually what I did was, I do have an oil here, but I held it up to my thyroid right here because that's where I was going to be targeting. And I did the body test this way. And it was super beneficial, but because we had both been laid off, we didn't have insurance anymore. And at that point, I was still taking the medication for it because it worked. That one was working for me. But I was like, well, okay. So I need to get busy figuring this out. I've, healed the RA. We can figure out the thyroid. So what a couple of people had shared with me, and I'm just going to put my hair back so it's easier for people to see, is a couple of different test stretches, or not test stretches, I'm sorry, different stretches, neck stretches to open up this space. And I was very grateful to have one of the teachers actually show me a couple of things to do before we had taken the hormones class. So I didn't actually know really about stomach as a key meridian for the thyroid until after I'd taken the hormones class. But she said for opening up your neck, there's a couple things. One, we have chambers that run up and down in our neck on the sides that are chakra chambers. So she said, open them. Just, run your finger butt center and up and down and just to open them. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And in addition, for very specific for the thyroid, so our thyroid is right here, and it's like you would do a diagonal and start from the center and, up and down and center and up and down. And then I would do figure eights all the way across my entire throat like this, just back and forth. And, oh, that feels really good right now, probably because I'm talking so much. And then she said, right along like the half center line, right, through my throat right there, doing these tiny, tiny little, we call them spindle cell pinches, but sometimes people call them like butterfly kisses. It doesn't hurt, so don't pinch yourself really hard, but it's just tiny, tiny little pinches all the way across right there. And you can just then finish just one in the center of the thyroid to help reset it. So that was something that I did. In one of Donna's DVD classes, I had learned about sometimes the thyroid actually gets tweaked and you have to actually grab it and twist a little bit, which was really weird. It felt really weird to me, and I apologize, I don't even remember the testing for that one. It's in one of her DVDs, but I would test and I'd be, oh, yeah, it is a little out. Okay, tweak it back in. There you go. So that was really important. Then there's another one called the tie flow, which is basically the belt flow on your neck. So if you can get all the way to the back, start all the way, or grab as far and just, bring that energy all the way over. And I'd bring it down and off my arms, and I'd do the other side and bring it down and off my arms. And because I was still having some joint challenges from residual damage of my RA, it's not always easy to get to the back, but I would do the best that I could, or I'd just grab and pull, and I was always doing that. And another one is called releasing the scalenes. And that is a stretch where, so we've got the collarbone right up here, and you just grab, don't have fingernails because it will hurt. I made that mistake. But you anchor in, and you start with your head to the same side you're anchoring in on, And then you just slowly, real slowly turn your head the other way. And as you're turning where you've anchored in, you can even kind of, I think, maybe see just a little bit, it creates a really good stretch. And then just move your fingers a little bit further towards your shoulder bone here and do it again. And, you can do about, for me, it's about 3 times. And I would do that. And then I would finish, going all the way over and doing the same stretch. And then I would do it on the other side. And the thing is, I would do these throughout the day because it doesn't take very long at all to do. So I was constantly doing that. I would do a lot of figure eights, a lot of just grabbing, just pulling. It was like anything I can do, to pull that energy out. That's what I was doing. And then after I had taken the hormones classes, when I learned, so much, just because stomach line runs right through the thyroid, it affects the thyroid big time. So when I was healing and working with, testing myself with the RA, what I would do is if I could balance something using a neurolymphatic, like we've got heart up here and we got central up in, the arm and everything like that, I would do the simplest ones first. So what I was not doing with stomach was I was not actually sedating it, which is what I needed to do. So after learning that with class, I was sedating my stomach in the morning and in the evening. So my typical thyroid routine would be, I had already done all of my other energy exercises for healing, the RA and dealing with the residual side effects, because there are. And then I would take my shower and I would do the rest of this in the bathroom. I would fix my neck, check my thyroid, and all. For testing your thyroid, I needed to do was I did a little 3-finger notch and I held it right up to my thyroid and I did the body pendulum to know what was going on. So then I would start with doing some of my neck stretches, test it. Did that work? Okay, no. Go on to another one. Then I would, do the tie flow or releasing the scalenes. I would test that. No, okay. Then I would get out, I used 4 different oils. I choose to use Young Living because that's what I was introduced to. I used Myrrh, Brain Power, Immu Power, and Endoflex. And then what I would do is put it up. I'd put each one individually up to my thyroid, see if I needed it. If I did, I'd put a little bit on my thyroid, and I'd actually put a little bit on the bottom of my tailbone because that, hit the central nervous system. And I would do that with each of the oils. And I would test it. If I still needed to, I would be sedating my stomach right then and there and test it. What then happened was over time was I started to actually get off the oils before I was able to quit doing specific energy work. And I maybe went down to using only 3 oils. And then it went down to 2, and then it maybe went down to 1, and then it went down to maybe every other day or every couple days I needed just a little bit of the oils. And the energy work for the thyroid then started to decrease too, the intensity of it, where I had been sedating my stomach, a couple times a day. And I did hold them a lot longer than just the 3 minutes on each side and then a minute and a half. It got to where I could then just trace my stomach backwards a couple times and it would hold. But what I would do was, it was really important for me to monitor the energy level of my thyroid throughout the day. So I would just, okay, where is it? Okay, do I need to do a real quick tracing my stomach backwards? Oh, okay, well, that's what did it. Okay, now let's just move on with the rest of my day. And it took from about the time I started working with my thyroid, which was a little bit before year 2 started, it took about a year for me to heal. And for me, when I added sedating my stomach, it was like, man, 3-4 months later, it's like, I'm good. So that one was really key for me. I just because it went right through my thyroid, that's what it was. So yeah, haven't thought about healing the thyroid in quite a long time because it just, I guess because I had already been training my energies, it was very much so on board. But it is important to find that, the things that work really for you. just because we have all these different things, it doesn't mean that every single thing is going to be what's key for you. Find it, and test. And that's where the wonderful thing of learning how to self-test. And if you know all these points, you're a practitioner, awesome. If not, ask your practitioner, can you teach me this? Can you show me this? It's so empowering because you can really fine tune, not only if you use oils or herbs, because I have clients that they're like, oh, well, I need just a tiny little bit of this for my testing, but to find that energy, exercises that really just make it for you. So it's important. It's really important. It's an amazing, thing to be able to do. So I really encourage it.
Great, Shari. It's great to see all those things demonstrated. I just want to remind anyone on the call here that if you have a question, you can type it into the chat box. We'll be able to see it and answer it for you before the end of the call. Shari, I was really fascinated by all of the things you pointed out. Some of them I'd kind of forgotten. So it was great to see them again. And the other question I had is, how do you feel about, or what would you say about fibromyalgia? Because this has a similar inflammation component as to RA, but it's different. And it seems to be a major issue, particularly for women today.
Yeah. I had to really think about that one just because, mine wasn't necessarily fibromyalgia. I know it is often categorized, or, a lot of people will kind of link them. The key with any kind of autoimmune and absolutely fibromyalgia is to go slow, with either with yourself or with, a practitioner. Go slow and respect the body. One thing that I learned, and I learned this, it was my own experience, and I realized that it translated not only an issue with me, but with other people who have experienced very, severe diseases, is that if you try to force the body, actually physically force the body or move it too fast, create this jerking motion, your triple warmer just like totally engages and you freeze, and it's like, that's it. We're not going anywhere. But when you're slow, when you're gentle, a person's body and their energy will respond. I would say EMFs are probably huge when it comes with fibromyalgia. I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, EMFs really affected me quite a bit. Just with my energy level, I could sit in front of a computer for 15 minutes at work and I was zonked. I didn't understand how it, what it did to an energy. And I'm going to bet in many cases also contributed to inflammation and pain. And I would think that fibromyalgia would be the same. So I encourage people to step back from the electronics. I know sometimes it can be a challenge, or even, find a way, if you want to do some stuff on a computer, get a keyboard that you can connect to like a laptop or something. You can sit back further from it. But go slow. And my instinct is that you don't go after triple warmer right away at all. You do a lot of stuff to make the body and the energy feel safe, because a lot of times we don't feel safe. And even me, when I was laying on a table being worked on and everything like that, just, practice and stuff like that, if the practitioner's energy was really hyper, really all over the place, and there's yada, 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 my body and my energy wanted to shut down because it could not receive that, or it could not handle it, or it was just too sensitive. And that is something that does happen with us, as we become hyper sensitive to almost everything. Not only the energy of things, the way people behave. And when you are in a state like that, your aura most likely has completely been obliterated, and we feel it. We don't always understand that that's what we're feeling, but it's just bombarding us. so things to create safety and security. And even if, a couple sessions with someone who has like fibromyalgia or, an issue like that, even if just a couple of the sessions are, a nice black pearl, which can really calm, your senses down. A lot of working with the aura, really gently weaving it, cleaning it back up. One thing that I am notorious for, but no one knows it, is I am always talking to the energies in my head when I'm working with someone. I'm like, so-and-so, I know that you have been, working so hard, triple warmer, keeping, I'll just use the name Jane, keeping Jane and, functioning, but I'm here to help you. And I do that. And I found people, respond, really well. But it's EMFs, I think, are a big thing. Creating a safe environment. And as a practitioner, if you've not had any real serious condition like this, being aware of what your touch feels like. Even if you're touching someone on the skin and it's a hard touch, it does not feel good. Very light, very gentle. Their body will tell you when they are ready for something deeper or something more. But you will get further, and the person will probably start to feel better. And actually, I would suspect have more success sooner if you are gentle and very, respectful of that, and create a very, very safe environment.
That's so important, Shari, that safe environment and getting the body to feel safe. And
Yes.
I want to comment to people that there is a small company actually in Arizona. It's a little family-owned company called EMF Blues, BLUES.com. And they have some very inexpensive, very reasonable things that you can put on your router, on your computer screen, on your cell phone, and things to try to minimize that electromagnetic radiation that we're surrounded with, number one, and that, as the more you work with energy, absolutely you become more sensitive.
Yeah, I agree. It's not something that we talked about a whole lot during the training, but I did learn a lot from, just talking to other classmates and other practitioners with EMFs. And that is something that I went through periods of, suddenly I'm really, really strong. And then I'd go through healing crisis, something else would come up and I'd be like really weak. So, for me, I have a lot of salt lamps. I love the salt lamps, selenite, big little pieces. I got it stashed everywhere. I don't really even grab them. It's everywhere. Plants, live plants. My house is filled with them. Makes a big difference, and I even wrote down the website that you said, because I do have a lot of clients that are looking for other different things for EMFs. They are huge. They are really huge. So thanks, Elsie. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you just mentioned selenite, and Donna has talked about that a great deal. And I have some selenite wands that I use with figure eights. They seem to clear everything, but don't need to be cleared. And
Yes.
Donna has even sort of suggested that they're otherworldly, like that they have this unique quality about them. So. Absolutely, selenite, anything that you can do to help yourself, integrate this, because the energy is only going to get stronger. I also want to ask Shari, before we run out of time completely, I know that I have your little acupuncture book, and I wonder if you could talk about some of what you have. I'm going to show a slide where people can get all that information and how to order from you, but maybe give us an idea of what it looks like.
Absolutely. So this is actually the tiny little, there we go, I think you can see it probably pretty good, acupressure book, acupressure. It is the size of a business card, and I did that on purpose because a lot of my, when I started, I was doing volunteer work every which place. So small was important to me, and the durability of it. It's actually, the card stock is business, card stock. It's really tough stuff. I don't want people to have to rebuy these. I want them just to be able to throw them in their bag and they can be beat up.
Right. And I think each one is laminated, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like laminated.
Yes.
So it's coated. So that's really special.
Yeah. It's all part of making them more durable. So this is the second one that these two came out together. It's called Energy Medicine Charts and Diagrams. These all really came about because of all the traveling I had done, all of, I am a hardcore learn this stuff right kind of a girl. And I was carrying around that big old 2-inch binder everywhere, and it's heavy and it's hard to find information, so I had just put together some of the books, or the first set of books, the blue ones that I showed you, really just for myself. And I had given a set away in my first class. It was our Christmas party, and all my classmates are like, "Oh my God, Shari, you got to do this for other people." And I'm like, "What? You want me to do what?" Oh my gosh, it was a little overwhelming. But I thought about it, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized that, this could really be another way that I can help other people, not only practitioners, but to help the practitioner do more for, the client that they're with. And what I realized, as for anybody who does have the books, they will actually see a major difference in the design between the first ones that I did and the second. And that's a lot because of how I evolved and what I realized, was also important with it. But I wanted to make them small enough that they were easy for us to throw in our bag, throw in our luggage, take with us wherever, and yet concise enough and very easy to find the information. So when we're with a client and we're working and we are in the energy of it, we don't have to pull ourselves out and go, wait a minute, where is that? I made it in such a way where it's very easy for it to find. And when this other book came out, it's Energy Medicine Techniques Volume 1, because Volume 2 will be coming out within about a month. The inside is much more conducive to, actually, the way the design is, the flow, the color, is to help keep you in that space of the intuitiveness so we can continue to follow the energy. But I also had the thought of, the easier it is for us to access, the more that we will use, the more that we are going to be able to help other individuals. And, what other way could I honor Donna?
So I'm going to bring this PowerPoint over, which, if you can see that here, this shows the books, the little book and the 2 books you were just talking about. And this will be, of course, also on the replay. And it shows Shari's picture and information about where she is, how to email her, how to reach her website. And she also has a lot of other, excellent products on there as well. So you'll be able to get this information. The links are not clickable, but you can easily copy them and put them into your browser. And the next slide, if I can get this to move down, or let me see if it will do it this way. No, I'm presenting you a screen sharing. So it's Mercury retrograde, and I don't know why I can't get the thing to slide down. Always just a little challenge. Yeah. Well, you have Shari's information here. Just trying to think. See if I can close that for a moment. No. Oh, we're back. Are we back? Okay. This technology is such a challenge. I love it. Well, anyway, the most important thing is that you have Shari's information up here. And the only other slide was just the one I showed before on, you are healing love, and just reminding everyone about that, you're absolutely love. And I know I have the bottom. I just get a little lost in this. So you can go to Shari's website and see some of the things she does. You might want to even invite her to your area to present, or we'll definitely have you on next year to talk more about the other things that you've learned. And I really appreciate your sharing so much. So again, if anybody has any questions, just type them in and we'll be able to respond to them. Or you can email Shari directly. By the way, everyone, Donna will be live streaming from Hawaii beginning Wednesday, April 27th. And we'll all be there in spirit, if not physically, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I know one or two people that are going from our area, and I can't wait to hear what they have to share with us when they return.
That is going to be a very exciting class. Yes, Radiant Circuits. Love them. Absolutely love them. So,
Shari, I just want to thank you so much. Everything you shared was so valuable. And, I know you've gone through the 4 years. You're now an advanced practitioner. You have your own practice. You've completely transformed your life. And you're also married to another healer.
Yeah, that one was kind of a fluke, but there's a funny story with that one day. But yeah, the energy work can really change you. No, I take that back. It's not that it changes you. It brings out your true self.
Oh, how nice. Yeah.
Yes. And I am so grateful to be able to share this. And really, if anybody has, any specific questions, I am totally open to you emailing me, because there's a lot that I did. I can get into much, much, much more detail with lists of, well, I did this, I did this, I did this. Just for, even people that if they want to get an idea for either, the thyroid or the RA. But it is a journey, and be open to it, and, pass on the work. It's amazing what you can do and how you can help people. And that's my biggest gift. I thought it was healing. It's being able to help other people. It really is. But I wouldn't have been able to do it without the healing.
Yeah, so kind of like Donna, you have your own story, and that seems to be so true of so many of the people that are in the program.
Yeah. It is. You need to catalog all of your little interviews and your videos and everything. I was thinking about this, and I'm like, she needs to offer that as like a library, because I realize we don't share our stories that much, and we start to not think that they're all that big of a deal, because there's time that's been put between when we healed and where we are. And it even took me a while to go, well, what do I have to say? And then I was like, wait a minute, if this just gives one person some hope for them to know that there absolutely is healing out there, completely worth it. Absolutely, completely worth it. And I was like, yeah, I got to do this. So,
and Shari, that's so important that you use that word hope, because, Donna Eden mentioned that a couple times, how important it was to give your client hope, that as long as somebody has hope, there's a way to go forward. Without that, there's not. So I want to thank you for joining me tonight and our other listeners. And I'll be sending out the YouTube replay link in about an hour as soon as I get it from YouTube. Thank you so much, Shari.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Love you all. Thank you.